friends, this is Spot Guy. What we're going to talk about today is Waterway, CMP, and Pentair jets. They're all very similar looking, but they don't interchange in most cases. There's also diffusers for them that you can replace. You can replace the diffuser on the back of a Pentair. You can replace the diffuser on the back of a Waterway. You cannot replace the diffuser on the back of a CMP, although they virtually look identical. So we're going to talk about this a little bit, and I'm going to replace a diffuser on a Waterway, and I will replace a diffuser on a Pentair here as well. So stay tuned and we're going to learn together. Alright, first let's talk about a Waterway as opposed to a CMP as opposed to a Pentair. Pentair is very discernible. You see that round back on it? They all have that in the 5-inch variety, and if I measure across, it's going to be exactly 5 inches. Now there's different widths of them. Some of them are 5, 5 1/4, but most of them are going to be 5-inch in the Pentair version. On a Waterway, you can have this. You see that one is exactly 5 inches. This one is actually 5 1/2 inches. And this one is exactly 5. This one is exactly 5, and some of them have this one is exactly 5 as well, and there's different versions of this. You see there's a bunch of holes, there's just one hole, then that one has a single hole, different shape. This one has a single hole, and then that one has a spinner with a single hole. So there's all kinds of different versions of these things, and some of them you can replace the diffuser on and some you cannot. This is what I'm talking about, the diffuser. I'm talking about this white part in the back. And what happens is when they get some age, this part of it goes bad, and this is an example. You see how this thing just deteriorated and fell completely apart. And when they do that, there's nothing that you can do to fix it. This particular one you see has that little piece in the middle of it, which is, some of them had a rod that stuck through there that was a spinner. If you have that style, you cannot replace the diffuser on it, but those are pretty rare. If you have a CMP brand, and a couple of ways to tell the CMP brand is you see this little ring back here on the back. There is a jut up on it, but if you'll notice, these don't have the ring on the back. They're smooth. Now that one has a little bit of a ring in it, but it's not dead in the center of it like that, where it has that little bump on it. Another way that you can tell a CMP is the newer ones have this little crown deal right here, where these are smooth. They have that little bump in it where there's a piece that fits down in the crown shape. These do not offer, this brand does not offer the diffuser, although they look very similar. But if you'll look, they look similar, but not really. You see the holes in the grabs right here? Notice this one does not have holes in the grabs. They're actually, they grab the other way. You notice that that one doesn't have it. That one doesn't have it. So before you order these, make sure you look to see if you have a CMP. The other thing that you do, the way that you get it out and in, is this lines up. You see inside the jet body, it has a little groove there, and it lines up with this groove right here. This little piece lines up with the groove. So you pop it in there, and you can turn it, and it's locked in. To get it out, you turn it counterclockwise and just twist it, and pops out. And what happens is this has a place in it where it actually pushes this part out and compresses the two holders right here on either side, so it'll pop out. So to install, you turn it and twist clockwise. To remove, you turn counterclockwise and it'll pop right out. And it's the same thing for all these jets. Now I wanted to show you one more thing. This is a jet that you'll find on Jacuzzi Premium. You'll see it on some Nordic tubs. You'll see it on several different tubs, some Caldera. Even though it's 5 1/4 across, it does not interchange with any of the rest of these. So look for this on the website. I have videos about how to replace these as well. So these actually snap inside of there, but when they go bad, a lot of them, if it has this type of spinner, or let's see, where is it at? Naturally it's going to be that one. This type of stuff, a lot of times you can't replace the diffuser because you can't take all the guts out and move them over, the bearings go bad and that kind of stuff. So that's the other thing. Before you order diffusers, make sure that you can actually replace the guts of these things. And you can also interchange. So the if you've got this jet and you want this jet, they will interchange as long as they're the same brand, as long as they're Waterway. And the same thing with this. Now that's just a larger face, but it still fits the same jet body, which is this style jet body right here. On these, to figure them out, you've got to go by the face. You can see that that's a suspender, but it's gone bad. The bearing has gone out of it. You just throw this thing away and buy another one. There's no repairing it, buying bearings. There is no such thing. And you notice this has chrome on it. The chrome is nothing but a plastic jet with a chrome plate snapped on the front of it. And you see those little tabs just hold it in place. So there's nothing special about a stainless steel jet as opposed to a plastic jet other than just a chrome face snapped over the top of it. So stay tuned. We're going to replace the diffuser on one of these jets. I'll probably do this one since this one is bad. And this is probably the simplest one. I may choose another one. Stay tuned, friends. So friends, just know that there's several different versions of this. You could have that part in there. You could have a jet that does not have that part in there. What this is for is when the jet is in the jet body, it lines up with the hose coming in. It's for turning it off and on. Some of them actually don't use that because they think that it's it's different jet pressures and different things, and some of them also have a part that fits right in here. This particular one is very, very simple, so I'm going to replace it first. It actually has no guts in it. It's just the diffuser and that's it. So we're going to change it first. And this particular diffuser, when they get bad, you can actually just break them off. You can see that the little tabs right there will just come right off very easily. Get all the trash off of them like that right there. And then what you do is, if you'll notice in the diffuser, there's a little cutout right there, and on the jet there's a little jut right there. You see it? So if you take that little cutout and that jut and you line them up like that, and you get right over the top of it, and you just put constant pressure. I'll sometimes put one side and then push and do the other. But you got to make sure that you're over the little jet right there. In fact, I'm going to turn it around so you can see the other side. Constant pressure and down, and you can see that it locked in right there, and it locked in on all sides. You see that? And if you get one like that one right there that didn't quite lock, take a small flat screwdriver and just kind of push it like that, and you'll see that it'll lock in place. And if they split, sometimes they'll actually split in the middle. As long as they come back together and they're holding, then they're good. And that's all you do to that jet right there. That one's done. And then you would put, if it had this part, of course you would stick that part back in there. Alright, so the next one is this one. This is going to be a little bit more difficult. This diffuser is really not that bad, so I'm going to use my flat screwdriver to release it. And that's the problem, is if you snap this new diffuser on and you don't switch your parts over and that kind of stuff, they're hard to get back off without destroying them. In fact, they're virtually impossible to get back off without destroying them. So what I'm doing is lifting this up off of the, and you use just a little flat screwdriver. Do one last one. Come on, how? Now you see that it has this inside of it, and it's actually held by that. There's a spinner in there. There's a bearing. So what you can do is lift up that side right there to release that bearing on that side. Lift up this side to release the bearing. And then you can start easing that part out. Sometimes you'll put your flat screwdriver behind it and kind of push it out. Just be careful, because the issue is if you break this stuff, you can't buy it. When you break these things, it's the entire jet. So there is the part that was locked in to that part right there. Now, if you'll notice, if you look inside, there's a little colored piece right there. So I'm going to pull this out. This is actually pushed in pretty hard. I'm going to take a big flat screwdriver. This piece right here, it almost looks like it's pinched inside here, but you see how far that's sticking through, and you also see that they're lined up with these. So what I'm going to do is take my screwdriver and pop it, and that right there was just pinched. It's not normally that hard to get out, and this other piece is out now. So you see that it's in a certain shape in a certain direction. So when you put it back in there, you want to line up these. You see there's only 2 of them on this particular one. You want to line them up with these little holders here so you get the most air movement. This is actually the air part. This is the part that creates the venturi effect. So I'm going to take that and kind of just bump it through. Just go easy with it. Still not quite in there. So you can take a tool like a little socket or something and pop it on the top of it. Alright, so now I've got it in. You can see that you can see through it right there. You see my shirt through it. Now we're going to snap this in with the bearing, and what we're trying to do is push it where it snaps under those. So you can just put some good pressure on it and snap that in on either side. So this part is prepared. Of course, you can stick this back in and push this down over the other part back in place. And like I say, most of them are not going to be quite this difficult to put back together. So now we're going to line it up like we did on the other one. You've got this little area right there, the little tab. So I'm going to line that tab up on this side first, and then I'm going to take and put constant pressure all the way on both sides, and you can see that it snapped right together. That one actually snapped in a little bit easier than the other one. So I'm going to finish putting that in. I'm going to put it on a solid surface, but you get the general idea. If you have a diffuser that has that kind of deal in it, that's not replaceable. That's actually cast in the diffuser. If you have the diffuser that's like this, you can switch the parts like I showed you from one to the other, or you might get real lucky and have one like, where's that? Like this, where there are no other additional parts other than something like that. So friends, now I'm going to show you how to change the diffuser on a Pentair jet. You can see these are normally 5 inches across. This particular one has got this round back on it. And you can see that that's a brand new one. Different. Actually, these are the same version. These are spinners like that. So we're going to replace this diffuser. And what will happen is these will get, this was actually not that bad, but they'll get so bad this part will break off and or it'll no longer stay in the tub. So all you do is take a flat screwdriver and you just kind of dig up under these edges right here. A small flat, I should say. Kind of important. A big flat is not going to work because these things are kind of tight. And if the diffuser's bad, you won't have to really fight to get it off. They'll be so bad they'll just come off if you put a little bit of pressure on them. Because these are tucked up in there, they're not quite as easy. And don't do that and stick a screwdriver in your hand. Done that before, of course. Let's go easy. Alright, so now we're going to release one more. Just digging under the edge of it. There she is. Alright. So now if you'll notice, this particular one has bearings in here, and these bearings are bad, by the way. This particular one, the bearing is bad. I'm just doing this to show you how to switch this over. Luckily, you maybe, if you're lucky, you won't have one of these that you have a bad bearing issue in. You'll have it where it's just a... So this one does actually have a bad bearing in it, but all I'm going to do is take that and slip it back inside here. Push it back down in there like that. Then I'm going to take the jet and you see that there's a little spot right there. There's a jut here and a jut there. You make those together on one side, and you put down pressure on it, and it snaps together just that easy. And that's all you do when you get it in. Now these are not quite as tough as the Waterways as far as putting them together or pulling them apart, and then you can take a flat screwdriver and kind of bop them like that to get the locks all the way in, and that right there will do it. So it's just that simple to replace this diffuser, and these are actually a little bit easier, but it's still not going to solve this issue with the spinner. It's not going to spin. But if you're trying to save some money, even though it did spin at one time, it's still going to act as a straight jet even if the bearings are bad. Now if it's a straight jet, you can still replace this because it doesn't need to spin. You'll just transfer the parts over like we talked about. So one more thing, friends, is when you're replacing this kind of diffuser, these are a little bit tougher than these are as far as the material goes. If these are cold, they don't go on very well. So what I do is I warm them up. Now I won't boil them, but I'll put them in the hot tub sometimes and warm them up, which is a little over 100 degrees. Put hot water on them or warm water just to warm them up before you put them on, because if they're cold, they're real tight and they're also brittle. So just make sure you don't put them on when they're really cold. If you're looking at the video that has all the jets in it, it'll take you to the 5-inch jet section. So friends, if you just watched the video about how to determine the difference between a CMP, a Waterway, and a Pentair jet that have this type of diffuser on the back of it, and also how to replace the diffusers, make sure you go down to the description and click on the link that'll take you to my website where you can find 5-inch jets like this and the related parts, diffusers, and all that good stuff. I don't know much, but I do know hot tubs. I'm the spa guy. Go there now and buy today.